I'm hearing something muffled.
Yeah, something really muffled.
Well, there it was for a split second.
Yeah, that means we're on. Go.
Hey, welcome to Wide Awake News Radio. I hope everybody enjoyed our 30th of a second intro music there. At least that's what we heard. I'm sure everybody else heard the same, or the entire song there. It is the 16th day of April, day after tax day, day after attack in Boston, and we're joined by Eric Lovely. Of course, it is Tuesday, and let's get it rolling, man. First of all, no, let's not get it rolling. If you're really mad about the chat room the other night, you should be really happy because the old chat room is there. If you want to join the folks we have in chat, I think we have about 60 in there now. You can go to wideawakenews.com, click on the Wide Awake Radio button, and that will take you into chat, or just click on the microphone. That will take you also into chat. If you are a subscriber or a former subscriber of the daily newsletter and you haven't received it for the last couple days, it is because we switched over providers and you got lost in the shuffle. So if you haven't received a newsletter, we put one out every weekday, business day. Then if you haven't received one for the last couple days, then head over to Wide Awake News, click on the banner at the top of the screen. That's all you got to do. You'll be resubscribed to get the newsletter, and you'll get it every single day. Okay, now, for the next 2 days, and guys, I apologize. You know, I was gone on a trip here a week ago, and I'm gone again tomorrow, and this one was kind of dropped on me. I knew about it for about the last 24 hours is all. So I'm going to be gone Wednesday and Thursday, but Karen has worked hard to get us guest hosts for those programs, and I believe I'll get the whole list of who's going to be guest hosting tomorrow night and Thursday night. Eric Lovely, have you been informed of this yet?
No, I have not received any information.
Eric Lovely will be hosting Thursday nights, hour number 1. I'm sure all by his lonesome unless we line him up somebody or you want to bring somebody on. I know tomorrow we're going to have Dex and Reginald come on and do some guest hosting again. Everybody loved him when they were on. And then I'll be back trip-free, hopefully, for an extended period of time next week. So this will be my last live program of the week tonight, and we'll have guest hosts for the rest of the week. Okay, that's cleared up. Eric Lovely. First of all, let's start with my my chewing out that's coming, because I'm thinking about this. That the marathon weekend, you had sent me a text saying, obviously we were going to talk about Boston and what happened there and what the response has been and how the Saudi national, it was a completely a hollow endeavor without a doubt. But you had said you wanted to talk about that. Also, you wanted to chew me out for the marathon. And I thought you meant on the video I did yesterday about this attack that happened on the marathon, but then you clarified with Karen. So I'm all ears, man. Let me have it.
Oh, I don't think it's a chewing out and whatnot. I was just, when you guys were talking about, you guys were seeming to, I guess, have a slight scruffle on the strike and the issue of checking out of the system and no longer participating. When you were talked about my idea, you see, our ideas really are quite one and are quite the same. I don't believe there's going to be a modicum of exchange fall off. There's always going to be a modicum of exchange. There's always going to be some type of currency changing hands to store wealth and so on and so forth. And when you guys were talking about it, I think that's basically that's what I was looking to say, is that I agree with you, but yet at the same time, basically what I'm saying is you should take whatever your career is, whatever your heart's passion is. Let's say you're a whittler or you build furniture or you do whatever.
Right.
Okay. The only difference I'm telling people is to stop bringing whatever your service is to market for a fiat dollar. Start marketing your goods and services. For now, if you have to, you offer your goods and services in the dollar, but also offer it for things that you're looking for. Chickens, a horse, whatever it is that you're looking for. Start also offering your abilities and your talents for non-Federal Reserve compensation.
No, I agree with that. I smiled. Those watching on Justin TV saw me smile when you said that, because I can just see Eric trading for chickens and horses in the bunker location. But I'm glad you are, because when I have to flee to that retreat, we'll have a mode of transportation and something to eat, even if it is the lowly chicken.
Now, I know you'll be riding a chicken.
I'd almost rather ride one than eat one. That is for sure. I don't disagree. Listen, the people that know me know that I will not eat chicken. I don't know if Bonnie feels the same way or not, but we grew up with a boatload of brothers and sisters, and that's what I remember. Chicken, chicken, chicken. Gnarly, cheap chicken. Almost, it seemed like every night of the week, and I vowed that when I was old enough to buy my own food or produce my own food, it would not be a chicken. So that's I've been sticking to that for quite some time. I don't disagree with you, Eric, and I don't know if I said it or Gary, because it was a debate. I don't even think it was a very lively debate. I mean, we were talking about the need for a job, and sometimes I think, Eric, sometimes I really do think messages get lost with, or points of views get lost or discounted because of, misunderstanding of words, and I kind of thought we were going to go down that path, because when you said that in that text, I'm thinking, well, what did I say that I know Eric Lovely would have an issue with? And I thought maybe it was something about, I remember saying that, people need a job to go to. And it's, even the word job, that was kind of brought into the debate.
But no, they don't need a job. They don't need a job at all, because a job, people really need
what I'm
to
talking
think
about. You're taking my word job and you're turning it into...
But job is a very specific thing. Job is a signification of employment. In other words, what you want is an endeavor to exercise your talents to gain you wealth. That's not a job. You want to work for yourself. A job is you working for some other individual.
Exercise what?
Your talents.
Exercise your talents in order to obtain wealth. I need a Yatawa. Instead of a job.
You can look at whatever acronyms and whatnot, but people they get caught up into these into the nuanced words. Yeah. Yes. There's no one saying that we're all going to sit around and go kumbaya and sit under the apple tree and nobody's going to do nothing.
And by job, that's exactly what I mean. And maybe people are listening and think, my job sucks. Well, I think of it, the jobs I've had, the job I currently have, and I don't think of them as this crap hole I go to every day and I hate it and I wish I didn't have to do it. The jobs that I've had, I've enjoyed. I wouldn't have stayed in a job if I didn't enjoy it. And so when I'm talking about jobs, I'm talking about gameful employment. I'm talking about something that you can do in order to better yourself and better your situation and better your family. Naturally, I would be the first one to say, if you are miserable every single day of your life because you have to get up and go do something, then you shouldn't be doing that. But, it does get lost in the words. Lost in translation or in meaning. I personally believe, that if I didn't have, and I'm going to speak for everybody, if we, the empirical we, didn't have something to occupy our time, some kind of endeavor, some kind of yatawa, that's our new thing, yatawa, to occupy our time and occupy our mind, I think that would be the most horrific life imaginable. It'd be like being a prisoner. Your mind you'd lose your mind, you'd lose your ability to. I think your skills, the things that keep you sharp and make life worth living, I think would be gone. Am I wrong?
Well, I think it's all about experiences and challenges and overcoming things, and that's what really, people look at it as when you leave the house and you do whatever it is constructive that you do for the day. It's really about overcoming obstacles and feeling some type of commercial break.
Commercial break it is. And more Wide Awake News Radio in just a minute. Hang tight. Eric Lovely is our guest on this episode of Wide Awake News Radio, hour number 1, 16th day of April. And, man, you know what? There's a lot to talk about, but I kind of wish it was just open topic tonight. because there's a ton of things on my mind that are more lighthearted, and I'm just trying to. Obviously, yesterday was very stressful, especially if you monitor the news like Eric, I'm sure you did, and I know I did. I put out 2 videos yesterday, and then did the program where it was all on this topic. And for some reason today, I don't even want to. I of course been checking the news to see if they've blamed it on Patriots yet, because they haven't, but it's coming, folks. I got called out on that video I did yesterday, Eric. Did you see it? I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah. I've watched the video.
Here's the thing.
And just to correct you, they actually did, in passing, the one FBI spokesman, okay, when they were talking about the number of bombs that they were going to confirm that went off,
right?
They actually said it was either Al Qaeda or a homegrown terror situation, but they didn't have enough information to divulge that yet. So it has already been poised out there. It just hasn't been actually said. In other words, they said it kind of in an in-run-around version. But no, they haven't actually come out and said it 100%. But yeah, it's already been injected out there, so it's floating around. Well, and I'm waiting for that too, because with the gold spiral, if people watch what happens with gold. When gold dips, okay, basically you have to think of it this way. When gold dips in price, it's kind of like a boxer dropping his guard. There's a straight right hand coming right behind that dip. And
that is out on JTV.
And that's really what it boils down to. People should be buying right now. I would tell you that because of the percentages and what normally happens when gold dips, something very, very wrong normally happens on the tail end of a gold dip, especially a sharp gold dip like this. So,
did you see the second video I put out yesterday?
No.
Okay. Well, it's ironic that you said that. Great minds think alike, because I put out a video called "The Golden Warning," right? And it had to do with exactly what you're talking about, because in 2011, gold fell 20% in a very short period of time. You see, this is the bullcrap nature of the establishment media, right? Everything that was been reported on this gold implosion was saying, "Oh my, this is the first time in over 40 years it's taken a hit like this, and the bubble is bursting." Well, it's not, they're not telling you the truth. Yes, it's the first time since in 30 plus years that it had that much movement in a day, but it hasn't even fallen as far as it did in 2011 and in 2008. In 2011, it fell 20% in a short period of time. Right after that, we had the European Central Bank, our excuse me, our Federal Reserve, and central banks around the world come together and take extraordinary action like never before, unprecedented action to rescue the world from a pending economic implosion. And we've all know what's happened since then. They printed money nonstop. The Fed's buying $80 billion a month. They're just heaping the debt on the people of the world. Well, that came on the tail end of a 20% gold drop. The gold, so the notion that it hasn't fallen this much since for 40 years is not true. It just happened 2 years ago. If you go back to 2008, it fell 21% in July, right before, in very short time, a couple days. It fell 21% in July of 2008. 2 months later, Lehman Brothers crashed, and we all know what happened from that point on. So, I put that story on the video that it is a golden warning. Something is up. And, to your point.
Well, I even think if you look back, I'm pretty sure that there was a $17 loss the day before the Cyprus news broke in gold. I think that it happens on just about any scale we can think of. As gold moves back and forth, that means something inside the system, okay? Because gold is no longer a monetary tool by governments. So you have to discount and discontinue the bank action. Some people can talk about paper modifications, or as people say, suppression, or as people say, coercion of the gold and silver markets. The big thing that you want to understand is that gold, Real gold, ladies and gentlemen, as if it moves up and down, there are reasons for it. If it moves sharply up or down, there something has happened within the market that instantly manifests itself in the value of gold and then unfolds itself days after in the real what it is. Now, see, that's what I'm saying. When the Lehman Brothers event happened, you had the gold impact. That's because everybody who was in on the know before everybody else knew, they were selling, they were trading, they were trying to cover their crack, they were running here,
Yeah,
running there.
that's
So
right.
the gold price took a crash. Nobody else knew what was going on. And then bang, Lehman Brothers imploded. The rich people were already on their life rafts sailing away from the incident. Okay, so I mean, this is the reason why people just don't understand the type of manipulation that goes on. They don't really understand the manipulation of the market, because when that gold price makes a move like that, that means there are people with insider information who are making moves with it at the same time, because they know something is about to unfold in a week or 2 weeks or a month right down the road. And I'm afraid to say, I hope we're all prepared for that. And I would say on the gold and silver front, you should be buying. Yeah, right now you should be buying. Any idiot that'll sell it to you, buy it from them.
Well, I don't know if it has further to go or not. Yesterday was a very, very bizarre day all the way around. We're going to be back with Eric Lovely and more Wide Awake News Radio in a minute. Hang tight. Uh-oh, beeping. Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. It's time to start. I heard the beeper. Eric Lovely is our guest for this first hour. We're supposed to have Greg Hunter of USA Watchdog on second hour, and right now we're striking out on touching base with him, but hopefully things will go the way they always do, which is we'll get a hold of him 10 seconds before the program, and we'll have Greg Hunter on in the second hour. Just a reminder, tomorrow night you're going to have Dex and Demcad. Thursday night you're going to have Eric Lovely by himself, both hours, rocking it. I'm just kidding, Eric. You're going to have Eric Lovely, hour number 1. And who did I say hour number 2? Or did I?
You haven't, because I think you're still dropping hints.
Yeah, no, I'm not dropping a hint. Hour 2 is somebody's covering. I just don't know who it is yet. We'll get that information. It'll be in the schedule, so you guys will know. But you'll have no rebroadcast. You have a live programming Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as normal. All right, if you're not one of the 63 in chat, you want to join us, head over there. Radio microphone on the front page. Eric Lovely. Let's continue our conversation, not about Bigfoot. I did ask the guys in chat if they've heard of that story I was telling you about. And it strikes me as so comical.
Maybe we could watch it on the Bigfoot TV show.
Now, Finding Bigfoot, that is they were just here in my hometown. I think they filmed one of their first episodes for next season. They just filmed it here. And ironically enough, right, there's a character on it named Bobo. You know what I'm talking about? Have you ever watched it?
Bobo, no. Well, I mean, I've watched a little bit of it here and there, but I don't get into that. I mean, if Bigfoot's real, I have bigger things to fry than him.
That's a pretty big thing to fry, old Bigfoot. Anyhow, long story short, they were in town here, and we have a product that has the name Bigfoot in it, and we ended up giving them some T-shirts because it has the Bigfoot logo on it. Anyway, the entire story I was telling you off air, and the question I asked in the chat is because I am overwhelmed at the gullibility of people. It blows me away, and it never ceases to amaze me what we will believe. And I don't know if it's a matter of to be entertained or to be thinking that we're in the know when somebody, over somebody else. But
well, I think you're kind of on the right track, and some people get annoyed by this, but if you look at the way school is structured, if you look at the way testing and grading is structured and how it actually works, it's contradictory to how the human mind actually functions. And there's been many studies on it, even though the government won't pay any attention to it, the whole standardized testing issue. But if you actually look through school, your brains are taught to be lazy. Your brains are taught to fill the empty gaps with emotional or excitement-driven hot buttons. And when thought process takes place, it's about regurgitating information. So if you're not being asked, like a computer, to directly regurgitate something that someone has taught you before or programmed into you, like out of a textbook, you will simply, your brain will wander off with the dumbest and the most stupid, mundane, idiotic. It really, if you look at the time and the time periods and how people did things differently, if you look at the difference between me and others, when I have idle time or something like that, or whenever I'm passing the time, I'll actually work mathematical equations in my head and things of that nature. It's a constant honing of your intellect and your mind, where other people will just get drunk, chew on sausage, and bang their head against the wall and paint their bodies up, and apply that to whatever sport or anything you possibly could think of. If you look at the action when they're not being prompted to regurgitate previously inputted information, they're I don't even know a nice way to put it. They're just brainless buffoons just wandering about.
It goes back
playing and bumping into each other.
Well, it goes back to my notion of a job or an IATOA that we need these kind of things. We need an activity. Am I being presumptuous there, Eric, in saying that we need something to do? We can't just sit around and we're not all Socrates. We're not going to sit around and just contemplate the universe. We need to keep our mind active.
But see, we all are Socrates. But see, here's the difference. Socrates, his whole idea was on a specific plane and a specific intellectual level. There is no real difference between him. You see, he was on a specific intellectual that drove him to be just as work-oriented and tenacious about emotion and theory and theoretical thought as the carpenter is to making a handmade piece of furniture or something of that nature. They are exactly the same, okay? There really isn't any different. It's just someone on Socrates' level, he's looking for a specific outlet that makes him okay, or that makes that suits his mental needs. A highly creative person is going to need to build something. They're going to need to put their hands on something and squish it and make it into something that they want. That's going to fulfill their drive. If you look at it, we have been programmed to completely ignore our drive altogether. That it is almost useless. We're supposed to abandon it because, hey, everybody gets a trophy for showing up. So, why do you need to excel?
Well, somebody who does excel is Demcad, who is going to be guest hosting here tomorrow night along with Dex. And he happens to be joining us right now via Skype. Reginald, thanks for coming on here. I know you had something you wanted to share, and I'm glad you could get on.
Oh yes, I'm glad to be here. I'm just here for a second. I have a question along with the comment. The question would be: at what point do you stop measuring the value of gold and silver in dollars?
Right.
So that's something I'm going to throw the ad out there. But I also want to mention something called the Stock Act. Now, this is it was an act designed to prevent insider trading among high U.S. officials. It was the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act. So essentially, these people would use information they acquired in Congress that wasn't available to the public to make financial transactions, and they were sort of required to share their financial transactions and their financial data and their financial activity. These public officials are supposed to be held accountable. Well, what they're working on right now is an act that's going to they're working on a bill that's going to make some little minor changes to that. Now, it's still going to be illegal to do insider trading on Wall Street if you're in Congress or whatever. However, they do want to make it so that they're no longer required to share a lot of their financial activity online, which would essentially make it more difficult for people to tell if they were manipulating their powers within Congress to make money. So I just want to bring that up. There's something called the Stock Act, and it's something that doesn't get a lot of attention. It's something you won't hear a lot on the news or whatever. But I think the strategy there is to slowly peel it apart with different acts and just make it powerless so that people can go back and do the same old business.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to comment on the actual Stop Act itself. Whenever you read it, you need to be very careful about the language that's being used, is because the clause and things that in there, it only applies to bankers. It does not actually apply to anyone in Congress. They can still trade because their foreknowledge is not legally considered insider trading. So they are still allowed to get away with it. Congressmen and representatives in the White House and so forth can still trade on the knowledge that they have, but it has made them be able to conceal it better now. So in other words, it's giving them more protection. They talk about it at being applied to congressmen and so forth, but that is never actually in the bill. It doesn't actually refer to them.
I have it, Reg, I got it pulled up here while you were talking. I pulled up the stock. It's STOCK, right? Stock Act.
Yeah, so as in the stock market.
Yeah, and I dropped that link into chat so folks could read it for themselves. The Stock Act, the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge, that's what the STOCK stands for, prohibits members and employees of Congress from using any non-public information derived from individual positions or gained from performance of individuals' duties for professional benefit. Obviously, I haven't had a chance to read this whole thing yet, but I mean that shouldn't surprise us at all. I mean, look, this is the same Congress, right? Most of them are well, we're gonna take a break. Hey, Reggie, hang out. We'll be back in just a sec with Reggie and Eric and more Wide Awake News Radio. We'll be right back. Guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. I'm Charlie McGrath, joined by Reginald, also known as Demcad from YouTube, and Eric of the Lovely Family. Final segment of this first hour. Again, we're supposed to have Greg Hunter on of a USA Watchdog in the second hour. Still having trouble getting a hold of him, but if we get a hold of him, he'll be on. If we don't, guess what? He won't. So let's continue this conversation. Reg, you asked about how long are we going to consider gold and silver priced in U.S. dollars? And I guess the simple answer to that is even the most diehard fiat currency hating, freedom loving person that's listening to our voice right now, and I'm thinking of this, even the Stella Concepts of the world freaked out a little bit yesterday, right? They might have freaked out for joy. They might have freaked out because they saw a 10% drop in silver. So I guess my simple answer would be, even the people who say that they're just stacking it because it's a time-honored test of wealth, they are forced to at least pay attention to what it's priced in the U.S. dollar, because that, unfortunately, a lot of people feel, myself included, is how we conduct commerce. So I think it's going to be on people's mind until the dollar's no more.
Well, I think it's really. You have the victim version, which is, I think, what you just said, and then you have the proactive version, and this is for Reggie. Gold and silver nominated in dollar bills or paper currencies, basically it boils down to when you personally no longer need them. When you have created markets, trading partners, where you can trade in the metal itself for goods and services back and forth, and the dollar bill no longer serves a function in it, then you are ready to stop worrying about it and discontinue your thought of dollars altogether. Now, there's always going to be some small percentage, depending on where you are and how much of the government bullcrap you're willing to put up with. So if you pay taxes, there is always going to be a certain percentage that will have to be paid in dollars. So that won't go away until the actual market crashes. But if you actually diversify yourself and offer your services for gold and silver and offer to exchange those services back and forth with others, creating those communities that I talked about, then you can personally at one point say, okay, I need $800 a year in taxes for this house, and well, those are the only Federal Reserve notes I need, because every other function of my life, my food acquirement, my energy, whatever I'm doing, all of those things are now acquired through direct barter or direct contract from myself to another individual, and I don't have to use Federal Reserve notes. So to me, really, there's a mathematical side of it, there's a social side of it, and then there's the individual who isn't playing the game, who's truly disconnecting from the system, and
he didn't care.
Yeah, and basically working as hard as they can to put themselves into a non-dollar existence.
Yeah. Well, I'm Reg, can you hear us?
Oh yeah, I can definitely hear you.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that Eric, yeah, that's a great portrait of the different segments of society. But I'm here to tell you, even the folks who are in this community and come on and talk about how they, gold is money, silver is money. They all freaked out yesterday. They all freaked out.
I didn't blink. I didn't bat an eye.
I'm saying for the most part.
Skip my beat.
Okay,
because you still need to pay your bills in dollar bills,
Well,
so
my point is that still most people, even in this community, they think of, they're going to look at this silver coin here, and they're going to say, think to themselves, what's it worth? What's the spot? Yeah, what's the spot on this beauty right here? That's what they're, even if they're immersed in this community, most people are still going to think, and I'm not dissing anybody for that. I'm just, this is the world we live in. We go ahead.
But that's what I'm understanding. I agree with you, and I'm not dissing them either. I mean, it's their own personal preference, but you can get to the point where you don't need that attachment. Like, how many hours. You see, it's really a thought process. It's because your entire thought process is based in the dollar. Well, how many hours? Let's liquidate the dollar and change the dollar into hours. If it takes you 5 hours worth of work to accumulate a silver ounce of coin, 1 silver ounce, okay? Let's just say that that's possible in 5 hours. See, now it's up to you. Well, how much is 5 hours of your time worth? How many chickens is it really worth to you? How many pieces of corn? How many seeds? How many buckets? What is it worth to you? How many car engines? And that is how the math basically equates out. X amount of hours in, if this represents 10 hours of my service, does 10 hours of my service entitle me to 1 chicken, 2 chickens, 3 chickens? And you make that deal with someone else, or an ounce of gold, an ounce of silver, however it breaks down. It's time to completely do away with the dollar math whatsoever and start eliminating the dollar from our existence. We need to really break the need, or break the design of the dollar, because the dollar's existence and us continuing to stare at the dollar and stare at the stock market takes our power of calculation away from us. What money really needs to be thought in the process of, what is my personal time worth that I'm giving up because I only get X amount of days on this planet? What's one of my days worth? Right. What does that really mean to me? And that's when we start understanding what money is worth and how to translate, how to use money without using paper.
Well, Reginald, go ahead, Rich.
We're still dealing with a complicated balancing act, because you have one system that's based on the Federal Reserve notes, and we have to exist within that system, even though the system isn't sustainable, even though the system is failing. But then there's also going to be another transition to another world reserve currency or some other type of system. So the trick is going to be able to exist in one system and get by one system while preparing yourself to make the transition to the other system. And that's going to be sort of the key. That's where it gets really complicated, because if you really don't know what to expect in that transition.
Either one of you tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, it's a great idea, Eric, and it's a great ideal, right, to start thinking in the terms that you're talking about. And you know what? I encourage anybody and everybody that if if your neighbor has something that a service or a good that you can do, offer him a service or a good to both get what you want. That's great, man, and that happens all the time. But either of you tell me when I'm wrong here. This system isn't going. The people who are thinking in this way are going to be a step ahead. But until we see a massive collapse of currency, an economic style collapse, most people are absolutely not even going to consider anything valuable unless it's got a dead president on it. Am I wrong?
Pretty much. That's pretty much how people are going to be thinking. And it's a transition, and people they know that the way the system works, they absolutely have to have the dollars right now. And to make that jump, you're taking a big risk. It seems like a big risk because you're so used to living within this paradigm,
this confine, this construct, and even the notion that your gold and your silver. See, most people, even in our community, most people are trained to think that an asset, they're buying an asset not because it's something they need and is substantial and something that will better their lives. They're buying an asset because they want it to go up. They want it to
In
increase.
dollars.
They want it to inflate in dollars. That's right.
Dollars, yes. You know,
And
and
that's
that's why a
what
lot of people, and that's why a lot of people freak out when they see the price actually drop. You know,
Right.
in reality, they weren't really buying into the concept that the gold and silver itself was a value. They
Right.
were really looking at it as a means of getting rich quick, as I would always say, as a means of how can I use this metal to bring in a certain amount of dollars at one point, and then get more back when I sell it at another point. So essentially, they're using it like any other instrument you would use in some stock
Any
market.
other stock, any other, you even hear the commercials. Diversify your portfolio with gold.
Mhm.
Well,
See, and I understand all those arguments too, but really what this is you have basically a rat clinging to a dying turd. I mean, when you have these individuals who believe like this, see here's the rude awakening. 80% of the population have already sealed their own doom. It's because they cling to these ideas. It's because they cling to this system. It's because they won't just simply cast the system off. They're already casualties.
80.
Okay, the 80%, 80% is my rough estimate. They're,
I'm thinking
starvation.
99.9% are still clinging to that.
Oh, well,
rat.
I think everybody's going to cling, but I think 80% of them are going to be directly calculated in brown bags with toe tags. That's really how this is going to go. So, the idea is for you and me and Reggie's to start having conversations so that people start thinking about all the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
What does a job really mean? What does career really mean? Because we're only talking to the window of people who are going to make it to the other side. Because all these people who are still worried about, well, how many bucks do I get? How many bucks do I have in the bank? They're the guys that are going to be chopped and lambs to the slaughter. They're going to be the guys who lose everything. They're going to become the flash mobs that run around trying to steal other people's goods. They're going to be the people that do all the things.
It's why I've said for 2 years, man, most people are going to be blindsided. They're not going to realize the situation we are in until it lands on their doorstep. That's just the way it is. I mean, if it wasn't so, then we would have more than a very, very small percentage of the country that we would consider awake or at least doubting the official story. Look how much we've went through, and still people are clinging to the stock price or the stock market or the dollar or the current the fiat currency system. Until people they're shaken to reality by circumstances that affect them personally, they're just going to go on going on.
And I really
I'm not trying to argue with you either. I mean,
no. I agree, and I really hope that people really. I hope to hear it in Demcad's videos. I hope to hear it in some of yours, because the foundation of America, the Constitution, everything that everybody believes in, every freedom, it's been so warped and twisted about our forefathers, calling them racist, this and that and another, and how they were horrible people. But the reason why they talked about property rights is because your body is the first property you have ever owned. And if somebody can tax your labor, then you don't own it.
You don't own yourself. That's right. Eric Lovely, thank you very much. Reginald, thank you very much. Thursday night, Eric Lovey will be back. Tomorrow night, Reginald will be back filling in guest hosting for us. We did get a hold of Greg Hunter. He is coming up he's coming up next hour, guys. Hang tight. We'll be right back. Greg Hunter, USA Watchdog. Again, thank you, Eric and Reginald.